this week we're going to be talking about having you become more aware of your actions and your reactions and how that influences TJ's behavior. How, and having you understand that certain things that you might do affect his ability to be successful. Mm-hmm. So I thought what we might start was just thinking about, is there a particular incident recently or in which TJ kind of had a meltdown or falls apart? And if you could think about that, if you were able to think about, well, first of all, tell me what the situation was, and then how did he react?
I think it's when I really got angry or frustrated with him about him doing something over and over again, and it was like, you're not listening to me. Mm-hmm. And he would get very remorseful and cry and hug me and say, I'm so sorry, do you still love me?
Almost an overreaction. To what the circumstances were, because you just pretty much said, no, not now, or what did he do? Can you remember what it was he wanted to do? Was it something someplace he wanted to go, or something he wanted you to buy him, or those are exactly when it happened?
I think pretty much when he asks if he cannot do something after I've already told him, he'll try to make some kind of extra plan for himself. Like he plans the day of wanting to buy a toy, and I have to come back at him a number of times because he'll keep talking about it all day. Okay. And I'll keep saying no, and I feel like if I yell at him too much or do it only once, he'll have a meltdown because he'll get over. So I end up doing just no every single time throughout the day that he brings it up. But this one particular time, I really acted angry, frustrated, and he immediately ran to me and did the hugging type thing. And
so when he cries?
Yes.
So when he acts that way, what is your reaction to that?
Oh, I'm just totally surprised. And
even though he does this repeatedly, you're still surprised that he's still reacting?
I still get surprised because of how much he's getting upset over this particular thing, because every event is different that he does it on.
Okay. His reaction is the same to every time you say no or you set some kind of limit.
Yeah.
He does a crying, hugging you, and then I would guess that you probably feel so bad.
Oh, I do.
That you just kind of break down yourself and give in.
A lot of the time I do that. I've been trying to say to him, TJ, you don't have to get this upset about it. I want you, And then there was another time where he was upset and he was doing his homework and he started crying, and I had to stop myself from coming in there and consoling him, and he just was able to get right through it himself. But my heartstrings were just tugging.
Mm-hmm. So that was different behavior on your part. You didn't give in or cave like you have been doing, and he went ahead and did what he had to do. So, that's good that you're aware of that. Does he ever try to bargain with you, like if we can't do this now?
Oh yeah. He'll just come out in the morning. The next morning, he'll just go into this.
So, it's important for you to think about how your behavior is affecting TJ. Because when he does these things, like the meltdown where he's crying, grabbing your legs, and being remorseful, and because you said no, and then it makes you feel bad. He's pretty calculated about that, because you often, do you sometimes give in to that and then say, okay, well, maybe we'll do it tomorrow, or
Yeah.
and that wasn't your intention, I suspect, from
Right.
the beginning. So he's figured out something that makes you break down, and he typically takes charge. And that's what I've noticed about TJ. He likes to take charge of the situations. And similarly, when you say he kind of comforts himself by making a plan for the next day, he's going to try it again.
Yeah.
Well, now, Mom, I've got it all under control.
Yeah.
We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And so when you say no to him then, he goes back into the crying mode. And but the way he makes himself feel better is because it's kind of an all or nothing thing. If I don't get that, I can't change the subject. I can't move on. But I think even looking back at some old videos, I was noticing that he tends to control even the GPRs that you've set up and take some of the things back. So I thought it would be a good idea if we looked at something today from the past and see if you can look at it and pay attention to your reactions and your actions and how it might have impacted his success. And think about what could you have done differently if you had slowed it down, if you had been more specific about the roles, if you had not switched the activity so much, if you had, just done something differently that you could have done, would it have changed the outcome at all?
But I don't think I expected him to, because I was going to be the one to fold it and he was going to be the putter. But as soon as I went ahead and put it in without waiting for him to do it and take it from me. And then I allowed him to be take my role and I'd take his role immediately.
Okay.
And then he starts playing around. And then I moved closer. I was kind of like, oh well.
Do you think maybe you didn't quite know what to do?
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do there. And he was giving me so I'm like, oh, okay, just go with it. Maybe I should have reestablished the roles instead of letting it go on. And see, I was just laughing there at it. And I should have said, the roles, because here I am sticking a sock at him, and I'm like, he doesn't know what I'm doing.
Well, I think right here you were
Get the video done. I just got finished looking at the videos, and I got upset because I did a lot of things that didn't work. I should have been more clear on the roles. I mentioned I was doing the dishwasher. I gave him many different requests, too much, over and over again. Then I let him take over the role. He distracted me by hugging me and trying to redirect me even. Another video I did of the same dishwasher is I didn't make the roles clear again and got him confused. I didn't clarify, and he tried to do the modeling and just started to do them any way he could because it seemed too much for him. I never paused and put anything down, no clear directions. I was confusing him, etc. I was hoping that the final outcome would be that we could have finished without confusion. And how it affected TJ's behavior was he was very frustrated. He couldn't understand what to do and what not to do. I'm not used to doing anything but commands. What to change, I could have simplified the process, telling him maybe we're emptying the dishwasher, but only the bowls and plates. I'll be the picker and you'll be the putter, and it just needs to be more simple. Evaluation, I can't seem to make things direct or simple enough to succeed in this.
This time the focus is helping Kim to recognize how her actions and reactions impact TJ's ability to be successful in their interactions together. As I mentioned before, I've been treading lightly, so to speak, in this area, but now I know that unless it's addressed specifically, we aren't going to make progress. Up until now, when I could get Kim to actually videotape a GPR for us to analyze, she would giggle and somewhat dismiss it when there was a breakdown. And because I'm sensitive to how fragile she is, I waited to push the subject. However, it's time to face it. I suspected that Kim would be hard on herself and in the reflection be saddened by her actions on camera. I have tried to always build her up and compliment her on successes that are not always RDI related, such as cleaning up the house after her husband died and enrolling TJ in karate and volunteering once a week, considering her own battle with depression. And now that she's left as a single parent of TJ, I've had to carefully consider her stability before I tackled this objective. I decided that it was timely because she was in a rut in her interactions with TJ. From conversations, I knew that they had become comfortable in a static routine, despite the several mini vacations that they took. Kim and TJ watch a lot of TV, play video games, and he coerces Mom into taking him to eat fast food and to go buy things. By showing her old video clips, I'd hoped that she would be able to recognize how her actions contributed to the breakdown in the GPR. We certainly have laid the foundation. I had prefaced the video watching by asking if TJ had a recent meltdown, and I asked her to describe the scene. As I would expect, TJ sobs and cries while hugging her legs whenever she says no to one of his many requests to control a situation. We then reviewed the basic RDI principles to promote co-regulation, such as pausing, simplifying, framing, etc. before we watched the video. Kim was able to recognize how she had not clearly established roles, and in so doing, allowed TJ to take over her role. She was able to see how TJ usually manipulates most situations very cleverly. Kim was able to recognize how she reacts to the scenarios where TJ is pushing limits. Even though TJ reacts the same way each time, Kim is always surprised that TJ overreacts to manipulate the situation. I was happy that we had a chance to point out to her that in one instance she recalled that she was able to walk away and not engage in his manipulation. When we watched the old video clip together, Kim was able to recognize more quickly how her actions led to the breakdown of the GPR. Before now, I think her focus would have been more on TJ's behavior rather than being able to see how she may have influenced the situation to begin with by not establishing herself as the guide. When I reflect about it more, I think that I have to be very patient with Kim because her personality is that she's quite passive. Her husband often controlled their lives, and it was evident in the early RDI sessions that we had together. TJ's personality, or autism traits, are very similar to his dad, and Kim has experienced many years of taking the passive role. Just recognizing it is a very big step. I think this was important for me to realize, and it helps me to adjust my expectations of Kim. I have been frustrated by our slow pace in making progress, but I have to remember that old patterns are very hard to change. Kim is very motivated, even more so now that she is an only parent. I think that reviewing clips of both old and new GPRs is definitely effective in promoting dynamic and interactive sessions with her. Kim continues to struggle with clearly establishing limits with TJ. Even things we had established early on, such as his morning routine and homework time, have again become problematic. Mom had been able to more effectively enforce her role as a guide prior to Dad's death, I think because she might have needed more time in caring for Dad. I think that now she has slipped back into old habits. Kim is the only one with TJ now and doesn't want to rock the boat. We need to go back to earlier lessons about establishing her as the guide. We've also revisited the topic of setting limits. I think that reviewing her mission preview may be a great place to restart. I was concerned that by viewing old GPR videos that Kim would not be able to recognize how her actions influenced TJ's behaviors and that she would be too discouraged by her actions. When I reviewed her first homework, her reaction was stronger than I had expected from our session. She was, however, able to recover when we discussed how important it is for her to recognize where she might make changes if she's ever to make progress. I gave her this feedback in our discussion thread and said that we will take baby steps to improve guiding as we go forward, and she seemed to perk up and is willing to begin again.
You know what I mean? No, it doesn't hurt me no.
Okay, so you're thinking right
yeah,
away.
that was right away. Yeah.
What did you notice?
In the very beginning, it just felt like such a chore. My voice was like, well, how am I going to tell him this? I didn't define the rules very well, and I even said, you know, and I tell myself, why would I say you know, and he doesn't know how to do this.
Okay.
So I would have to clarify more
Mm-hmm.
again in the beginning of what it is we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
And
just
simplify it. Simplify it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I figured it out.
First, I'll establish the
I'll establish.
Okay, what were you thinking?
I'll establish the plates. What does that mean to him? I was just so confused about how or what to say.
I think you get nervous.
I
when
do.
When you have the camera on. But
Yeah.
And I want you to, get in the habit of kind of doing it so that you just forget about it, because that's how, the more often you do it, and the less nervous you are, that will come with time. But also this is a perfect, because you're able to see what you would do differently, and that's the key. Okay, so there's some confusion there about the plates. What do you think you could have said?
Well, what's going on is I asked him to take them out and I would place them, but now I'm showing him the shape of the plate, and it's like, why would he be trying to figure out where the plate is supposed to be set? So I'm introducing another role at the same time, which I shouldn't have done, because that is confusing.
Perfect.
Okay.
You did. You had him. You said one thing and then you introduced another. So he wasn't really sure. Am I supposed to be taking these out? Am I supposed to? They're all plates. So
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. He was confused.
this is a different shape. So I'm going to make a different stack of that honey.
Now he starts directing.
He was telling you what
Yeah,
to do.
he was telling me where to put it.
I was just thinking, with just the plates alone, can you think about a way that you could have, since that did come up, how you might have been able midstream to make that?
Yeah. When I looked into and saw that there were different size plates, I would say out loud, we're gonna stack each plate separately that's different.
I was wondering, since remember we really want to make sure that he does some of the thinking, because he's certainly capable. Instead of telling him, you could have even said, perhaps, this one's a different shape.
Yeah.
And see if he says, we can put it here, or he looks at putting it on. And so even if you put the round one on top of the square one, you could then say, they don't really fit well in this one pile, since some are square and some are round. And see if he then comes up with a solution. Remember, we're always trying to get them to do the problem solving instead of, it's so typical for us to direct
Yes.
and tell him. So remember, whenever possible, use a declarative statement that allows him to do some thinking.
It's funny because I feel like as a parent I should just always tell him what to do. And being able to let him come up with something, it almost feels like, I'm mom, or like I regret it or resent it or something like that.
But remember, this is the difference between being a director and being a guide. If you think back to those first few months when we were talking, that was really what we were trying to establish was less directives
Directing.
and more guiding and modeling and him following what you're doing, him doing exactly what you're doing, him having to watch you to know what to do. That was the whole purpose behind that. And if we have to go back and revisit some of those things, that's okay, because there's been a lot that's gone on since then. And it's really reestablishing the way you are teaching him to do things.
Yes.
Because you're going to be guiding him by modeling and guiding him by setting it up so that it's clear. And then when a little challenge comes up, that productive uncertainty, that what do we do now, that you are letting him try to figure that out and anticipating when he might become frustrated and then, but we know that when we've picked an appropriate activity, that he would be able to figure that out.
Yes.
So we know he'll be successful on the right track, but any practice.
Yeah.
I would agree too. The part where it says, I feel I'm missing something.
Yeah.
I think you're closer to being really on the right track. You're still, you need more practice.
Yeah.
And that's why I really wanted to do this and do this slowly, because we're almost to the end, and I know it's kind of like tedious, but if you come away with a few things today that you would change for the next time, even just to this point, what would you change?
I would simplify the activity, clarify the roles, yeah, and make more prep time before starting just take more time to think about what we're going to do and the outcome before I start the video.
After church, I do feel like going after McDonald's. I do feel like going to McDonald's after church.
We'll think about that. Oh yeah. I used to help Grandma
Huh?
doing this when I was a little girl.
Take two things.
Okay. I wonder how we could get it up there.
I know. Uh-oh. There's too much stuff up there.
Oh. I really like it up
Clean
there.
up this pantry.
And look how high I can reach. Okay, I'm recording a video that's in response to the new video that TJ and I have never done before. We put groceries away into the pantry and into the refrigerator. I had to literally write everything down, and for some reason this was really stressful, and thinking back to the video whether I was doing everything correctly. So I've watched it, I've written everything down. My reactions and behaviors and how they impacted TJ's success. From watching the video, I noticed instances where he wanted to talk about going to McDonald's, and that I didn't want to talk about that, but I did want him to have some sort of conversation with me. Even though he asks this question almost every day, I wanted to be patient this time. I think we're supposed to show how we can keep a conversation going in these videos. The way I relate to him when he keeps asking the same question is different. It's either we'll see, or sometimes I will say yes or no. My behavior impacted TJ as far as how he acted in response to me and me to him. Wait.
Ricky,
Alright.
he wanted some stuff and he forgot it, so I gotta go over quick.
Alright.
I have to go on my socks.
Come right back.
Alright, I'm gonna go on my socks.
I was feeling impatient with him, but felt I shouldn't be angry or hurry up.
Mom, I gotta go on my socks.
Go!
Alright.
I kept changing ways visually with my body, trying to figure out how he might understand me. I was hoping he would understand that I could help by reaching in the air, saying I'm tall, with getting the tea back. He didn't get it. I said, I think I'll try. He finally said, yeah, you do it. Thinking back, maybe I could have actually stretched my arm up with the tea in my hand to the top of the shelf, then looked down at him with a questioning look of like, should I put it up? I seemed to wait too long and to get the tea on the shelf. Okay. As far as the pace, I think I kept a slow pace, and let's see, the next one was did it occur what I wanted to occur. I was looking for him to follow my instructions, which I stated at the beginning of the video of who is to do what. There was a time where the role of picking and giving almost changed, but it changed back. I was hoping he would have gone faster, and I was happy he knew where to put everything, even the meat in the freezer instead of the fridge. I waited when he knew it was different. We had a little conversation during the video, which I wanted. We finished the task. I was hoping the part with the tea was a little better, a little faster, and at the end I did have to cut him off because he kept talking.
The second homework assignment was for Kim to videotape where she was guiding TJ in a situation that was new to him. She had divided the groceries into two piles, one for pantry and one for refrigerator. Her plan was to hand the items to TJ and he would then put them away. Things fell apart very quickly as she seemed to lose her focus and allowed TJ to take over, and she did not consistently hand him the items, and he began taking them, stacking them, etc. In Kim's analysis of the homework, she discusses the tea, and what she's referring to is that she had hoped to set a challenge for TJ by asking him to put the tea on the top shelf, in hopes that he would ask for her help. She told me that this was her intention, a challenge for TJ and an experience sharing when he asked for help. Again, this is evidence to me that Kim's expectations are too great. She says that she needs to simplify things, but then sets up a complicated GPR with too many variables. She loses her focus, TJ takes over her role, and then Kim feels like a failure. She continues to struggle in simplifying things in her own mind. Kim resists doing GPRs as she seems to have some expectations that are too grand. She continues to focus on the doing, on the activity, rather than the being, despite the number of times we have talked about this, the getting away from getting. I'm seeing more clearly that we have to really slow down and go back to both earlier parent readiness and apprenticeship objectives. The 10 weeks that led up to Dad's death and then the following 5 months following his death have almost erased a lot of early learning. Mom's focus has decreased since February. I don't think I can expect much progress without reestablishing some basic principles. They need to work on basic co-regulation. I continue to encourage Mom to just sit with TJ or take a simple walk to develop basic co-regulation and trust. I plan to revisit videotaping GPRs where I am guiding TJ as we then analyze the actions and reactions and behavior. I think this will be easier for Kim. I want her to develop competency in guiding TJ, and doing the GPRs for analysis may be too much for her to process, and I can essentially provide more scaffolding for her this way. I think Kim needs to gain more emotionally from being TJ's guide, and then she'll feel more confident and more relaxed and more connected to TJ. It feels like we're always taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Perhaps most consultants in training have a more linear progression, but I'm not sure. I do know that this family is very challenging. Dealing with Mom's fragility, compounded by the father's death, has definitely complicated our progress. Kim is still willing to move forward, so we will continue on. Thank you for your time and assistance. Bye.